Hi comic book fans, and welcome to another suddenlycomics.com video. And today I've got another in my series of comic creators. So with me today I've got Mark Hutchinson, who is in the process of creating his first comic, which we're going to hear a bit about in a minute. But first, Mark, I'd like to hear your origin story, sort of how you got into comics.
Yeah, well, I started off with I'm a huge Disney fan, and I have been since I was very young. And I used to buy Walt Disney's Donald and Mickey comic that came out
Okay.
in the 70s.
Yep.
And Disneyland, which was the great big magazine, which are quite rare now. So that was the first entry. And then I got into Spider-Man and the Avengers. But in the UK, we had our own versions. And I'm sure you might remember they were the kind of the long size, weren't they?
Yeah, I've got them in
Full,
there.
yeah, full color covers, black and white inside.
Yeah.
And they seemed to have like 2 pages on each page. So I was enthralled by that. But what I was really enthralled about was a comic called Captain Britain that came out in the mid to late 70s. And I thought, wow, we have our own superhero. So I was enchanted by that. And like many collectors, wish that I'd kept a lot of those, because Captain Britain is worth a lot of money now. That #1, it's ridiculous how much it's worth.
Yeah, that's not actually the most valuable one. The most valuable one is the first appearance of Betsy Braddock.
That's it.
Because
Yeah.
he goes on to become one of the X-Men, Psylocke.
Yeah.
So that actually he commands a higher price than Captain Britain 1 now.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it, how that happens? It's like now, there are appearances in the Spider-Man universe series, and there's Miles' appearance is worth like £2,000, and he came out, not that long ago. It's just incredible, really. So yeah, it was Captain Britain, Spider-Man, the Avengers, Donald and Mickey, and then from America, I used to get the Tales from the Crypt comics.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I used to get those from the Loughborough Market. They were secondhand usually, and they had the dollar punch on the front.
Yeah.
And they were like 20 pence or something like that. So they were secondhand, but I really liked those. I think because of the color, because with the Spider-Mans and the Captain Britons, they were mainly black and white inside. But the Tales from the Crypt, they always had kind of a twist at the end. So I was quite into those. So yeah, that was my first sort of involvement with comics, and it kind of drifted away a bit in the 80s and 90s, and then I came back to it because a friend of mine who owns a comic shop said, well, what you're telling me about this story, it lends itself visually to a comic book. And then I also had a very vivid dream where a lot of these characters were coming to life, and I thought, well, you know what, I may have been on this project for 14 years. I think we're going to try a comic book, and it all made sense,
Okay, so this was this a novel you were writing?
It was. I should have shown you. I've got the first edition, which is 500 and something pages in the other room, and it was a trilogy, or it is a trilogy, so roughly 500 pages each. So comic 1 is kind of the first 20 or 30 pages of the first novel, as it were.
Oh, right. Okay. So success, we can look forward to about another 50 issues then.
Exactly. There's so much to tell because it's kind of a story arc, and it goes right through because, I get ideas and I've written them down, and partway through I realized this is a mammoth story, but it has to be told. You can't do it just in one book. It's got to be over these 3 books at least. It could be a series of 5. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it was interesting. And my inspiration came from various sources. One of them being Superman the movie, the original 78 one, Christopher Reeve, and I just loved the first half hour set on Krypton. So we actually I've actually got a couple of original lobby cards from the original. This is
Nice.
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando, yeah.
with the villains about to be sent off into space to reappear in Superman 2, of course.
That's one of the photos that I've had in the lobby of a cinema, is it?
Yes, it is. That's right. But these are quite rare because these were issued to cinemas before the film came out, and they were sent to say this is a film that's not finished yet, but these are some of the scenes from the film that you'll be getting later in the year. So these are pre-lobby cards, so they are quite expensive. I got them from the comic mart that you were at on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then of course you've got a great shot of Marlon Brando, which is brilliant. And obviously, as you know, he helped sell the film really to the distributors. Gene Hackman came on board. So I was inspired by that. It's funny how, 45 years ago this came out, and reading the first comic that we've virtually finished now, we've got 2 pages to go. I think, it does lend itself to being inspired by that opening half hour, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so how many years ago? When did you decide it was going to be a comic? Was this 2 or 3 years ago? Or?
It was 2 or 3 years ago, and 2 or 3 years ago I had the dream. Prior to that, I was on it, as I say, for 11 years prior to that, and I was going to hit some publishers with it. But for some reason I held off, and obviously this is the reason why, I think. And the more people I told that had heard bits of the story, they all said, "It's a great idea. Why didn't you think of it before?" I said, "I have no idea."
So you sat there and you thought, okay, let's do this as a comic.
Yeah.
So you've written it. Have you got any artistic talents?
None at all. I can do stick figures, and that's about it.
That's about me as well. So you must have then said, how do I go and find an artist who's going to work with it? Tell me how you went about finding.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine, Rich, who runs a certain comic shop not too far from here, he's been in the business for a while, and he said, I can put feelers out for you. And we attempted a couple of UK artists, one that's very big, but I can't mention the name because it didn't come off, because he was doing some other things. He was doing a couple of films. He was doing a storyboard for a film stroke TV series, and he couldn't fit us in, and we really wanted to start it at a certain time. And he said, well, I know a guy called Ario Murti. He's in the Philippines, and he is similar to this guy that we wanted to get from the UK. So I received some extracts from what Ario was doing, and I thought, we want kind of a realistic approach with a lovely, shiny finish. We want the characters to pop off the page, and he seemed to convey that. I think you're going to show a few pictures along the way
during the edit, but I do have the flyer that you gave me when I met you at the London Comic Mart. So here's some of the artwork.
That's right. Yeah, it's very impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah.
I may. And this is the first page of the comic.
Yeah.
And it's quite, we wanted the first page to really have impact and obviously set it all up. And in that one panel, it sets up a lot of what's going to be going on. I'm delighted. And we actually just hot off the press. No dialogue for this one yet, but this is like page 13 or page 14. But there's a lovely panel here where there's some special effects taking place. This is Sakima, one of the main characters. This is his father, Raytaf. He is he works at Crystal City. He's actually the commander, as it were, of the Crystal Council. He's the leader. And they're touching palms, and magic happens. And he can then show the audience that are in the crystal the dream that he keeps having, and then it blacks out, and they're all asking, what's going on, what's happening. He says, well, I don't know. This is what I thought I'd share it with everybody. The elders, do you know what's going on? So there's a mysterious scene with a pyramid and 2 people on the top looking like a king and queen, and all these people below are chanting. and then it blacks out, and they wake up in a cold sweat and they keep having this dream. So what's what is it all about?
So, how are you working with the artist? Are you paying him up front, or is he taking a percentage of the sales? Or
we're paying him as he goes.
Yeah.
It's a situation where 3 pages at a time he gets paid. We get the line art first, and we pay him for those, and then he then does the colors 3 pages at a time, and it's worked very, very well. Obviously, he had a rough script from me. I actually did do the stick men and stick women on paper. I had drew all the panels because I wanted to give him a rough idea of where I wanted the characters to be, and also the size and the shape of the panels, because you can do that better. And I simply old school took the photograph of each page and emailed them with a concise written script as well, so he knew exactly. And he's hit the bullseye every page. I just can't believe how he's managed to, this is one of our variant covers. This is from Alex Owens, who created it. He's our character designer, but this was colored by Nay Ruffino, who's colored things for DC and for Marvel.
Yeah, you showed me that. You showed me a picture
on
your
phone.
I was very impressed with that. I thought that was really good.
It's very impressive. And this is going to be a metal cover on the Kickstarter, and also we decided for a chrome cover and a normal cover as well. This scene I actually had in my head 6 years ago. It's a bit like a big greenhouse with droids floating about, and this character's got 4 arms and he puts his hands against it. So it's beautifully done.
And that character's is the baddie, I presume.
He's the main baddie. There are 2 baddies. He's the main one. Then there's one called Rafleisha, who I can show you actually in the SFX magazine. We had an advert. Let me see. No, it's in this one. I'll show you that one. This is Infinity, which is the retro monthly, which is brilliant. And this issue actually has a big focus on 40 years of Return of the Jedi. So we put our villains in there. Rafleisha is here. He's the one with the walking stick.
Yeah.
And he's got lots of scars on his face.
Right.
And,
so this is a Kickstarter, isn't it?
It is indeed. Yeah, we decided to go that route. Because it's new, it's always tricky with Kickstarter because it's not the Avengers, it's not Superman, it's an unknown title, but we've been influenced by Superman the movie, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. So if you put all those into the melting pot, and a bit of magic from Harry Potter, and a bit of the Disney magic, to be honest, there's heartfelt characters in it as well as humour. So we decided to go.
It's a couple of weeks still to go on the Kickstarter.
We've got 2 weeks, yeah. We're on 26%, so we need to get to the figure of only £2,000, which is very reasonable. So yeah, if you haven't looked yet, have a look on Kickstarter, the Spirit Tracers. We'd love to get it. As I say, it's a 14-year pet project. I don't want it to go by the wayside. We really want to get this moving, and I'm sure we'll reach the target. And then our plan is to do issue 2 fairly shortly after that, and then we're going to push it towards the independents like Boom Studios or Image, because we feel that they would suit Image quite nicely, or Boom Studios, But the second issue, you're more into the characters. There's some very comedic sequences in issue 2 where they're choosing a couple of droids to go with them. I can explain the story in just a moment.
So just to recap for people who are watching who might be interested in supporting the Kickstarter, so you need to go to Kickstarter. You need to type in The Spirit Tracers.
Yep.
And it will pop up. I know this because I went and
you did.
So, well worth supporting. I think there's some really nice things that you can get if you do support it. It's nearly, I think you've nearly finished the artwork, haven't you? You said there was a couple.
Yeah, we've literally got 2 pages and they're coming tonight from the Philippines.
Okay.
And then we're releasing them late April, early May. So it only takes about a week to get out.
What sort of size print run are you doing? You mean you can do really small print runs these days, can't you?
I don't know. We'll see how we go. But the intention is to also make it available on sale in places like Gosh Comics and things like that in due course, possibly for Big Planet. We've literally put an email out to them today, so we're waiting. We sent them 6 pages of the sample story with all the variant covers as well. So yeah, that's the plan, because it would make a fantastic movie or a great TV series or a series of films. Everybody said. In fact, I've just got an email from Ario, and he's just sent me over page 13 as I speak. How about that? Isn't that weird? It's just popped up. He's revised something on the page I showed you.
Okay, so let's say issue 1 goes out. It's a success. It all sells out. How long is it going to take you to do issue 2?
Not very long, because Ario is already on board. He said I'd be happy to continue, because I think that continuity with the same artist is very important. Even if you get somebody similar, I'd rather have Ario, because he knows the characters now. It will be much easier for him, and as I say, the continuity. So yeah, it would probably be out before the end of the summer with a bit of luck. So yeah.
Okay, well, that's quite quick. Okay.
So it can be done. Yeah, I've already written 6 pages of issue 2. So we're
okay. All right.
We're on the right track.
Wait another year before we got a second issue, then.
Certainly not. No, not at all.
So what's been the biggest challenge so far?
The biggest challenge for me is the word edit, because I've written it as a novel. When you're writing a novel, you go into great detail, you explain things more. You've got 500 pages of words, and with a comic you're limited on word space because of the nature of, obviously, it's the visuals that tell the story. The captions and the dialogue are extra, so that was tricky for me to edit it down.
Okay.
But once I got my comic hat on, and I was looking at other comics that other people had done, I looked at, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I looked at a lot of the Star Wars comics of recent times. I also looked at the film adaptations of the Star Wars films, because they condensed a 2.5-hour film into 4 or 5 comics over 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
So I looked at how they did that. And once you get your head around it, it's actually not that difficult, but it was very difficult for the first couple of days trying to convey a script. Because I felt, how the heck? I can't, I want this. And I thought, no, the visuals speak, and it's the text and everything else blends nicely together. So I've managed to crack it, but it was a bit of a shock, I must admit, at first. So getting there, yeah.
Yeah, getting there. Okay.
Very much so.
So yeah, all right. So let's say I don't know, Boom Studios contact you in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like you to abandon your own publishing, and we'd like you to come and produce this for us. You'd be happy to do that?
It'd be lovely. I'd definitely take that call. Definitely take that call. Yes, because Boom, I've been reading Boom for a few years, because I went back into buying comics about 8 years ago. So maybe that was the reason why I started buying them again 8-10 years ago, because this was looming, and I didn't realize at the time. And they've done some terrific stuff. They do a lot of fantasy stuff, Wind, which is very, which is quite up my street. There's quite a few nice, they're not all superheroes. They're great, but it's nice to have something a little bit different. So, and this is a bit different because we also blend in spirituality. We blend in the law of attraction, which is interesting. We use that quite a lot. Because the basis of the story with the villains is, where do all the negative thoughts and negative energy go? Somebody somewhere across our crystal star system has been collecting all that negative energy, and they're going to use it as a weapon. So that's the basics of what it's about. The law of attraction comes into play as well. The story is set around the crystal star system, and I've based all my planets with names after crystals. So it's a completely separate universe. A little bit like George Lucas, he's a million miles away from Earth, I originally had it set on Earth, but my tutor, who was helping me a few years ago, said, "Look, you've got these amazing planets, and you've got Earth. Earth seems a bit of a, an eyesore. If you got rid of that and had another planet in place of Earth, it would work better." As soon as I removed Earth, it just takes the shackles off, and you've got a lot more freedom. So that was the reason. We were lucky to get a UK illustrator who some of your viewers may know, called Graham Humphreys. He's done a lot of hand-painted film posters. If you go into your HMBs, those that still have them, and you look at the Blu-rays of the horror films, he's done quite a few of those recently. He did Frankenstein recently.
Yeah, he's best known as did the Evil Dead.
He did.
Those of you familiar with the film Evil Dead, and
Yeah,
poster will spring to mind, and he did the poster to Evil Dead.
absolutely. And this behind me is the original painting that he did for our main cover. This encompasses the three novels, really. So that's why there's so much going on. We've tried to convey everything that's in the three novels. So a lot of these characters.
Yeah, okay. So can I give you a comment on this?
Please do.
That's what I thought when I saw this. My personal view, trying to do too much for a first issue.
Okay.
I think that would be a good cover for a for a trade paperback or for volume 3. Once you've got people who sort of go, oh, that's that and that's that and that's that.
Yeah.
Since you're going to be having people who haven't got a clue, I just think that is for me, I just think that's a bit complex.
Yeah. Well, that's why we've also got this as another one.
I prefer that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously the other one, which is one of the main villains.
Yeah.
So you've got a choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, it's a fair point initially, and also it could quite easily be the cover of the first volume or even the second volume of the book. So but it kind of conveys the old cinema poster as well to a degree of the sort of 70s and 80s. We were trying to convey something like that, certainly. But there are also other variant covers which we're doing, which are single characters. So there's a lovely droid called Nedlog.
Yeah,
a golden droid. Him there. There's a separate cover for him and him alone as well. So that'll be interesting.
Who's this strange creature down here?
This is a bit like one of the characters in the Star Wars films, Yoda. It's the oldest Lanret Hopper in the universe.
Okay.
So he's a Lanret Hopper, and he manages to, every memory that he's ever had, he stores. So he's got the whole universe, basically the history of the universe within him, and he's the last of its kind as well. There's only one left. So it might well be the case that the villains are after him as well at some point, for obvious reasons, to try and get the information out of him. So I've created that. There's also a river otter who appears later called Reto. Yeah. He's an amazing talent. And there's a girl in a pod. That's one of the main characters to come, called Leanne. She is sent to this place called Crystal Mountain, where they teach youngsters they teach them to become guardian angels. Those are the infants that are never born. Because I always thought the question was, when infants don't make it, where do they go? Do they just disappear? So we've created this special place where they go, and they're kind of traced. So they trace the spirit to this place, and they are taught to become guardian angels. And they actually appear, a bit like Superman the movie, they appear in this pod and they land. And while they're in the pod, they're being fed and they're being taught the ways of the universe. And they appear physically aged 12 years old rather than just an infant. So they appear 12. And there are elements in this pod of their mother's love, which covers them, so that when they do land, they're not freaking out going, well, where's my mother? So Leanne has got scars because during the transition, something happens, and one of the villains comes and takes this magical stone, which helps to trace the spirits. And this is in transit of her, being pulled in. So she's kind of involved. So later on, there is a big quest for them to assist her and find certain things. So that's hence why it's a big mammoth story. But you have to start from somewhere. So we're starting at Crystal City, and there's a big flood coming, basically.
Right.
And
is it going to be like Lord of the Rings? Isn't we're going to sort of be following 3 or 4 different groups at different stages, or are we just going to follow one person through a narrative?
It's one person, really, yeah. But there are a few things along the way. There are a few twists and turns where some of the lead characters might not necessarily make it, and but they still somehow are in the story. So how can that be? So I can't say any more than that, really.
No spoilers. Don't give any spoilers.
No. But so there's lots of twists and turns where anything and everything could happen along the way. But as I say, the comic kicks straight into the action. A flood is coming in a few hours. The elders know about it. They believe in reincarnation. They've been told to stay and go down with this historical city. The youngsters, the younger people, have been building a motorized pod, a crystal pod underground over 3 years, because they knew roughly when this flood was coming. And some of them are going to escape, or they hope to escape, to a new land. But in the first edition of the comic, there is quite a lot of politics going on with the elders, because some want to stay. Some say it's not fair that the leader of the Crystal City's son gets to go and lead these people. Why can't they go as well? There's room. So there's quite a lot of that going on. So there's a lot to set up in the first issue. And obviously we leave everybody hanging on a string at the end of issue 1, where the villain comes into play near the end of the first edition, as he appeared at the beginning.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds fun. It'll be I think it's very brave to try and do this, because there's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of there's quite a lot of comics on Kickstarter.
There are, yeah.
And but which I think is great, because I'm a big fan of people who want to put their neck on the block and try and create a comic.
Yeah.
So I did an interview with a guy called Scott Harris King the other day. He's on.
Yes.
He's on about his 7th or 8th comic now.
Okay.
From Kickstarter, so
Brilliant.
Seems to have done okay.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a lot of hard work, I think, and I don't.
It is. It's a lot of work.
Rich. But
I think my favourite part of this whole journey so far, for 11 and a half years, it's a solitary thing you're writing. And every Saturday I'd go into London and I'd write half a chapter with a colleague who's writing a Lord of the Rings type book. So we kind of, bounced off each other. But then to have a creative little team behind you and them creating something which you've only seen in words is fantastic, and then to get the pages through and you think, my gosh, this is it. It's coming to life. I can see this. I can see it now. But it was nice to share it with 2 or 3 other people, because obviously they had to have the information to do what they've done. Sure. So that's been a fun part of it so far, amongst it all.
Printer lined up? Who you're going to use? Do you know who you're going to use to do the printing?
My friend Rich has got that sorted, so that's all in hand, and it takes about 6 days once we submit everything for it to come back. In the back of issue 1, there'll also be some pages of some early sketches from the early days, just to show the process of it happening. And everybody that does take part in the first issue, you'll get a name check at the back of the comic as well. So well worth it. And as I say, there's various versions. Go to the Kickstarter. There's a video we've done as well, which is an animated video, which is the first 3 pages. Yeah. And I'm about to put up today a few more sample pages as well, with captions and dialogue, just so you can get a real flavour of what's to come. So it's good.
Great stuff. Right, I'm going to put a link to the Kickstarter in the information below. So all you'll have to do is click the link. It'll take you to the Kickstarter page, and go and spend some money to support this.
Yeah.
It's not a huge amount of money that's required.
It's not. I mean, the digital version, £3. That's less than a cup of coffee. The main issue, £5 plus £2 postage. If you want to get Nay Rufino's beautiful version, £10 plus £2, and there's metal covers. And it seems to be that a lot of people, when they're looking at Kickstarter campaigns, a lot of people I know buy up these metal covers and then they put them on eBay with a few months, and they charge an absolute fortune. So we're happy if you want to make some money with the metal cover, because it's publicity for us. We don't mind. Yeah, there's a multitude of versions.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but I saw one the other day. It was a Kickstarter, and it was a 3D printed cover,
right,
limited to 25, and they had sold out, and they were charging 1,500 per comic.
Wow. Was that a first issue? It was not like something that was like,
yeah.
Gosh, that's incredible.
I think it's the first time anybody done a 3D printed cover.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
why didn't I think of that?
$1,500 and sold out. So that's not bad.
That's incredible. Yeah, I think that the thing is with Kickstarter, you can have a fantastic project, and some make it, some don't. Just because you don't make it, I think we will, but some don't, but they still go on to greater success later. It's just the right place at the right time. If somebody goes and sees it and goes, oh yeah, I quite like that. Yeah, okay. They have to be in the right frame of mind. It has to engage them, obviously. I think with an animated video that we've put up, that helps to engage. I initially put up a video with me just talking about it, but we decided to go the route of an animated video, and then obviously all the information about me is underneath it, and the storyline to a degree as well, so you can get a recap of that as well. So yeah.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
I look forward to interviewing you again in a year's time, when you can tell us about how successful you've been, and what issue 5 is going to be.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I look forward to that, and possibly the details of the film series or the television series.
Yeah, exactly. It'll all be
people are looking for new things. This is totally new. I don't think the law of attraction has been done in comics yet, and I think it's quite a unique. I mean, if I saw this, I would definitely be gravitating towards it, but as I say, it's been a 14-year journey. We'd love this to come out, and then we can hit the ground running and get issue 2 out, and I promise you lots of twists and turns, comedy, drama. There's an author called Lorna Byrne, who's based in Ireland, and she writes books on angels, and angelic things, and I sent her some of the first draft of book 1, and she said it moved her to tears. She said it was beautifully written, and she said it's so engaging. And I was able to use that quote on our website, spirittracers.com. And she's a Sunday Times bestseller, so that's not bad, is it?
That's pretty good.
Because she'd heard about it, and we actually did an interview. And she said, "Look, I'd like to read some of it." So I sent it, because I don't let all and sundry read it, normally. And she sent me that lovely thing back. I said, "Look, can I use your quote?" She said, "Of course you can. It's not a problem." So there we have it. But thank you for your time, Mark. It was lovely seeing you at the Comic Mart last week. And we'll do this again soon, I hope.
Okay, so that's it for this week, guys. That's your lot. See you again soon.